Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, SPC 205, whatever time you're consuming this little artifact of educational media. I am your SPC 205 public speaking instructor coming to you live on tape from my COVID-19 compound here in the greater Grovetown, Georgia metro area, the Aiken Tech Outpost here in lovely Columbia County, Georgia. Our lecture today is brought to you by water. You want something that's both odorless and tasteless and yet still leaves a plastic container? Try drinking water. Okay, my name is Vic McInnes. I'm going to be your public speaking instructor here in our online universe for fall semester 2020. It's going to be my job to sort of walk you through the public speaking process. It's going to be my job to sort of give you that skill set. And again, I will tell you this. Public speaking is a skill, and we're going to start off right off the bat by saying that. It's not magical. It's not something you're born with. You know, for you guys that are in welding, for you guys that are in nursing, for you guys that are in nuclear safety, for you guys that are in construction management, you're all learning those skill sets, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. This is a mechanical skill that I'm going to be teaching you over the next 14 weeks. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be just going through some of the welcome stuff, some things you need to know about how the mechanics of the course is going to run. I have had students in the past describe this as this is the hard-ass lecture where I have to tell you up front what will happen to you if you don't meet the standards and how we're going to meet those standards, okay? But first of all, let's just jump into it. Again, this is my name, Victor McInnes, and let me tell you how this is going to work for our lectures. We're going to have, picture-in-picture kind of happening here. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, there will be me lecturing, and down here will be the slide. So I want you to think about this upper left-hand corner. That's kind of like the Florida-South Carolina game. Yeah, sure, everybody kind of wants to know who wins. Yeah, it's of interest, but it's really not that important. So be aware that I'm on the screen, but don't really get too hung up on that. The important stuff, the Auburn-Georgia game is going down in the main portion here. Auburn-Georgia, always a great competition, always a great game. Neither fan base known for committing football felonies like the University of Alabama. So focus down on the slides, and you'll do great. Not so much me, the slide. Well, my hand disappears in right there. Okay, so welcome to SPC 205 Public Speaking. That's my name right there, Victor McInnes. That's my email address. And because we are not in our offices at this time, and probably, to be honest with you, since when you look at the list of COVID-19 comorbidity issues I have, I check every box. We're going to be doing everything online. Your major interaction with me is going to be through email. We'll discuss that a bit more in detail and give you some other alternatives. But right now, my email address is going to be of importance to you. Now, all this stuff today you don't really have to write down. The syllabus and the syllabus addendum are already posted. By the time you see this, will already have been posted to Blackboard documents and will be there for you to read, okay? Which will include my contact information. But there you go. There's my name and my email address. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in the great state of Alabama in a small town called Homewood. We used to be a little town separate from Birmingham, but now suburban sprawl is just, Birmingham is literally surrounded, but it was a town of about, when I was growing up, town of about 36,000. I attended Auburn University. I got a bachelor's degree in communications, political science, and history, which means I had 3 liberal arts focuses and no ability to get a paying job when I graduated. So, and especially with my 2.68 grade point average, I enlisted in the United States Army because I needed to work. I wanted to serve. So I went into the Army. I spent a total of 6 years in the Army, and I went back to Auburn University to complete my master's degree in speech communication and international relations. Why did I choose Auburn again? Because with a 2.68 grade point average, they actually would take me. When I graduated, got out of graduate school, I went to work for the National Security Agency up in Maryland. I worked in Maryland for 10 years. Then my wife and I, we met there. We started moving around a bit. In 2010, I went to work for United States Central Command. down in Tampa, Florida, which runs all the military operations for the United States and the coalitions in the Middle East. My job title was Supervisory Intelligence Officer. I was working in the Intelligence Directorate. And then when in 2015, I retired from the Federal Civil Service after 30 years. And I went to work at the Army Cyber School over at Fort Gordon. I taught, I was a doctrine writer for a while, and then I taught classes over there, and I became a certified instructor. That career gave me the privilege of spending time in California. Spent about a year and a half in California, spent about 10 years up in Maryland. We lived in Texas for 3 years. We also lived down in Florida, down in Tampa for 9. We were also in the United Kingdom for 5 years. I got the chance to go to do a deployment to Iraq. I also did a deployment to 2 deployments to Afghanistan. And the other 2 flags there are Bahrain in the United Arab Emirates. I got to spend some time in a whole bunch of countries there along the Gulf at various assorted times. As far as my teaching background goes, I started teaching public speaking in 1986. The great thing about teaching online is I don't have to hear a single one of you going, man, that was 20 years before I was born. I understand that, but I have been teaching public speaking now for 34 years, okay? I taught at the University of Maryland, public speaking. I also taught for the, it is called various assorted things by different people, briefing skills, oral presentation, all sorts of different things. But basically, I've taught public speaking at Auburn, at the University of Maryland, for the National Security Agency, for the Defense Intelligence Agency, at the United States Central Command, for the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center and School, and for the Army Cyber School. Okay? So when I tell you something, I want you to believe that I'm not saying it because I just want to say it. I have both the practical experience and the theoretical, technical background to tell you that when I say something to you, I really seriously mean it. Okay? So let's jump into it. Here's my contact information. It gives my office, but let's face it, I ain't going to be there. So you can skip down the line. Now, in the past couple of months, we've been experimenting with this whole online thing. To be honest with you, I've tried having mass office hours where I will be on Zoom from 10 to 11 o'clock 2 or 3 times a week, and I got absolutely no response. So what I'm going to do, if you want to talk to me face-to-face, if our conversations are getting too detailed, too complex to keep typing out, we can do virtual Zoom meetings by an appointment. If you want to talk to me face-to-face over Zoom, you just send me an email, say, hey, Mr. McInnes, I'd like to meet with you on Zoom. Give me a 2-hour block, and we will set that up. Okay, feel free to email me at any time. I am on my email all day, pretty much. Although, if you email me Friday at 6 o'clock, your email will not get seen until Monday morning. Now, that being said, the important thing for you to remember is if you send me something like there's an emergency Wednesday night at 9:30 and I don't see your email until the next day at 9 o'clock and you had an assignment due, the timestamp is going to be when you sent it to me. If you said, hey, my kid just got sick and I was just about to start my homework, I'm not going to be able to turn it in time, and I don't see it until after the deadline, you're good to go. Okay? So just keep that in mind. All right, all formal communications for this class will be done via Blackboard. If you're not familiar with Blackboard, get familiar with Blackboard. There's a million tutorials out there online. Just Google Blackboard tutorial. I will post announcements to Blackboard. Now, if you, by the time you see this video, well, this video is going out in a Blackboard announcement. It's your responsibility to look at Blackboard, not my responsibility. This is not to push it to you, okay? If your Blackboard announcements are going into your junk mail and you miss a bunch of assignments, that is not my responsibility. That is your responsibility. I am going to recommend to you, you have assignments due every Thursday at 8 a.m., okay? I am going to tell you, you should go in and look at those announcements on Blackboard, through Blackboard, probably 2-3 times a week, just to make sure you don't miss anything, okay? But if you come up to me and say, well, I didn't see the Blackboard announcement, I'm going to take a screen capture and send you the Blackboard announcement and say, it was there, that was on you. Okay? That's the first time I have to be kind of a jerk, but you need to know these things. Okay? Okay, hopefully you've seen 2 or 3 of these. The Aiken Tech mission statement. Aiken Tech is a public, open-door, 2-year comprehensive institution of higher education established to provide the citizens of Greater Aiken County opportunities for educational and workforce development. I really focus in on those last 2 words, workforce development. Okay? I did not write the course description. This course is an introduction to the principles of public speaking with application of speaking skills. That's a perfectly good description of this course. Hopefully you're aware of both of those. Here's my goal for this class: to make you confident and effective public communicators in order to enhance your personal and professional lives and to improve your skills as a critical consumer of communications. Don't know if you guys have heard, but there's an election coming up. November 3rd, you are going to be overwhelmed with communication, public communication. So hopefully this class will give you the opportunity to better examine your choices that you're going to make when you vote in November. The other thing is to enhance your professional lives. It's a simple statement of fact, and I can show you the articles that have been published over the last 50 years, especially over the last 10 or 15 years. Corporations in the United States are getting people that are incredibly talented, incredibly technically skilled. We're closing that skill gap that we talked about for so long. But what businesses are saying over and over again is, hey, listen, I've got people that can code, I've got people that can build machines, I've got people that can build, networks, but they can't talk in public. So the people who can talk in public, the people who are good at public speaking, are the people who are making more money. And that's what this boils down to. This class is for the purposes of workforce development. This is not some theoretical thing. It's not a theological thing for that matter either. This is not some sort of theoretical thing where it's just, teaches you, how to think better. Okay, I hated those classes. This is a skill that you need to make more money in your lifetime. Okay? Forbes 500 companies say over and over again, one of the skill sets they're looking for is good public communicators. You've taken English 101, so that should improve your writing skills. This is going to teach you how to be a better public communicator. Okay? This is something I do not kid about. I want you to be aware of this. We will adhere to ATC's infringement of the rights of others policy that is written in my syllabus. You should go read it, because if you walk on that, I will ask that you be removed from the class. Okay, language that can be interpreted as discriminatory based on the grounds of race, gender, disability, sexual orientation, religious belief, and age. And there's a couple of others I didn't get added in here that I've added that are in the syllabus, and the syllabus that will not be tolerated. Okay. You make any sort, and there's also, I think I may have a little slide on that later on. Let's figure that, profane or obscene language will not be tolerated. You use profane or obscene language in a speech, you get a 0 for the speech. I stop grading it as soon as you say it. And that happened last semester. Okay? I had a student that thought that a-hole, and she said it was not profane or obscene, and she lost the argument. She got a 0. I will not tolerate profane or obscene language in any speeches. You're supposed to learn how to be professional communicators, and that's not professional. It's the student's responsibility to be aware of the offensive nature of any language they use in class. I had a person in class one time used a euphemism, a racist euphemism for the Vietnamese people. Came to me, and when they got a 0, came to me and claimed that, well, I didn't know that was offensive. Didn't make any difference. If you had a word that you don't know what it is, or it's not common usage in the United States, you need to look it up. Okay? Violation of this policy during a speaking event will result in the immediate assignment of a 0 grade for the event, and I do not kid about that. Okay? Violation of this policy will result in a review of the student's ability to continue in the class, and I have had that happen. I had a student, well, anyway, I won't get into it. Just leave it at that. Okay? Here we go. This way, it is not acceptable that any member of my class will be made to feel excluded from the opportunities provided by Aiken Technical College in association with any of the following issues: race, religion or creed, national origin or ancestry, sexual or gender orientation, age, physical or mental disabilities, veteran status, genetic information, or their citizenship. Okay? And that's pretty straightforward. I don't think there'll be any questions about that. In order to move the class forward, this is not such a big deal for an online class, but I have had instances where people have hit a topic that is inflammatory, it's controversial, and this runs the gamut from being so controversial that somebody might jump up and start screaming at you in class. I have had that happen. To topics that have just been so overdone that I don't want to hear them anymore. To topics that fly in the face of all existing scientific evidence. Okay? So you will not do speeches on gun control, reproductive rights, marital or family equality, immigration. You will not do any religious proselytization at all in any form. Okay? And I don't care what religion you are. You're not gonna tell people it's the best religion in my class. You're not going to talk about global climate change, vaccinations, texting and driving, animal adoptions, or COVID-19. I just don't even try. Okay, and I have had people that have I give you an opportunity for every speech that has an outline to send your outline to me. That does not disqualify you from giving a speech, but I have had people that have submitted outlines on the day. I had one 2 semesters ago where somebody handed me an outline on the day, and it was an in-class, and I was going through it. I pulled the outline out, and I looked at it, stuck it back in the bottom, said, come see me after class. It was on reproductive rights. She said that, and I'm not going to tell you which side of that argument it was, but I told her point blank, you just got a 0 for this speech because I absolutely told you that was not acceptable. Okay, and I have the department chair reviews this and everything, and Aiken Tech is all good with this. Okay, I want you to feel as much freedom as possible to select your topics, but these are not acceptable. Attendance, man, we're hitting this is the greatest hits to make you think I'm just an overbearing jerk. Okay, we will take attendance weekly through graded activities, either discussion board input or a graded speech. You will have one every week starting this week. Okay? Failure to post for a graded event, either a discussion board or posting the details of your speech by the posted deadline, and your deadline is always going to be Thursday at 8 a.m., will result in an absence, and the work due that day will not be graded. In other words, you will get a 0. Okay? Failing to post by the deadline on 4 graded events will result in a student being withdrawn from the class. I have got 100 students in SPC 205 this semester. Actually, I got 102 because I got 2 classes that are overloaded that I signed off on people coming into after the class was already full. Last semester was the first time I've taught this many classes online, and I had people coming in saying, oh, I posted it at 8:45. Can you give me a break? And I had to go back in and dig it out. I do not have the time for that. Okay? So you assume that every assignment I give you is due to be posted Thursday at 8 a.m. Okay? If it's at 8:15, you will get a 0, and that you will be marked absent for that week. Now we're going to talk about, I understand things happen. Going to talk about that in just a second. Going to talk about it right here, okay? I understand that now that we're in the after times and all that was before has now gone away, that a lot of you guys that used to be considered minimum wage, relatively unimportant guys are now essential workers, and everybody's life is just going crazy. I get that. I am willing to work with you on that. If it says right here, if an excused absence causes you not to be able to post by the deadline, I will allow extra time, but those excused absence must be coordinated in advance. Every one of you has one of these, okay? It is a smartphone with email. I'm willing to bet every one of you has one of these. So if it's 2 o'clock in the, if you're sitting there and you've got a speech that's due the next day and your kid is in the emergency room, okay, with a respiratory infection, your focus is not on doing that speech. I am 100% okay with that. I'm a father. My kids are 27 and 24, and I still get nervous when I hear they're going to the hospital. Okay? So I am completely understand that. mcinnisv@atc.edu. You say, Mr. McInnis, my speech will be late. We'll send details to follow. And at that point, you are on hold. And you do not need to turn your stuff in. Now, I have to approve of the excuse afterwards. Okay, I'm going to want to see, if you come in and say my kid was in an emergency room, I'm going to want to see something, some sort of proof that indicates that you were in an emergency room. If you have a death in the family, which many of us are dealing with, I am going to want to see some sort of indication that you actually went to a funeral. Okay, I'm going to need a picture of the program. I'm going to need a picture. I had a student one time that had to go to Spokane, Washington for a funeral. She sent me a picture of her standing outside the Spokane airport. That was fine. I had a student send me, say that, hey, listen, my mother is in ICU and I'm not going to be able to post a speech. And I said, please, I understand. I hope your mom feels better. I need to see some sort of documentation. That's just policy. And she sent me a picture of her mother in the ICU, which I immediately deleted and was totally freaked out by. Don't do that. I just need some sort of paper documentation that says whatever. And I've had multiple students call up and say, hey, I had a flat tire. And I went, prove it. And they sent me a picture of their car on the side of the road with a flat tire and a timestamp on it. And I went, that's good. You are excused. You will do your speeches, So, but you must let me know in advance. Even if you just shoot me a note that says, I'm not going to be able to do it. I will get with you tomorrow about the excuse. Okay? I need something in advance. So the next thing is, an excused absence must be related to a specific event. And poor time management does not constitute a reason for an excused absence. I had a student last semester. Everything was due Thursday at 8. He was the only guy that ever attended one of my Zoom office meetings. He showed up and he said, yeah, I'm not going to be able to turn any of my stuff in on time. And I'm like going, okay, that's a fairly unusual thing to say. Why is that? And he goes, well, I work Wednesday nights late. And by the time I get home, I'm slammed and I can't do the homework. And I'm going like, well, do you work Tuesday night? And he goes, no. And I said, do you work Monday night? And he goes, yeah. And I go, do you work Sunday night? And he goes, yeah, no. And I said, all right, well, do it Sunday night or Tuesday night. No excuses. That's your time management, not an excused absence. So please don't come in asking for an open-ended excuse that's going to, for turning stuff in late, that's going to last the entire semester, because I'm not going to sign off on that. Okay. I bend over backwards to work with excused absences, and I will do so for all of you. Okay. All right, you're going to have 4 graded speeches. You're going to have a total of 6 speeches in this class. 4 of them are going to be graded. We'll talk about them all. You will be well prepared for all of them. You will have a ceremonial speech, a ceremonial introductory speech, an informative speech, a problem solution speech, and a persuasive speech. Okay, this is a public speaking class. If you miss 2 of those, you will be withdrawn from the class. Okay, so let's go into what absences and what failure to turn in work on time will get you withdrawn. If you miss 4 graded events total, 3 discussion boards and 1 speech, 4 discussion boards, you're going to be withdrawn from the class. If you miss 2 of these speeches, graded speeches, you will be withdrawn from the class. I will send you emails telling you, I will get your email off the class roster, and I will send you an email warning you that you're in danger of being withdrawn from the class. Okay, but there is very little flexibility. I have been told by my department chair and that this is part of our accreditation thing. If people aren't coming to class, we don't get our accreditation again. So I need you to understand that. All right. The ceremonial speech will be 3 to 4 minutes long and can be read from a manuscript. Believe it or not, when we get to that, you're going to know what all that means. The other graded speeches will meet the following criteria. They will be 4 to 6 minutes in length. You will cite 3 pieces of evidence, and you will only use 2 note cards, no larger than 4 by 6. Will be allowed. If you violate the note card rule, which is the rule that is most often violated, you will lose 10% of the available points. Okay? Don't freak. Calm down. Everybody, deep breath. We're going to have you ready to go to do that. That is not going to be a problem. You will be able to do that. Okay? Discussion boards. Each week you will have a speech to watch. Now, I said each week. I am such a nice guy. I was going to have you do 14 discussion boards, but what I decided was that you're not going to have a graded speech and a discussion board on the same week. So you will have 9 discussion boards. I will post the link to a speech. I will post those links on Thursday during the day. You will then have to write 2 to 3 full paragraphs detailing your impressions of the speech and the speaker. That's going to be worth 10 points. Now, the first question everybody always asks, well, what do you mean by 2 or 3 full paragraphs? Okay, so I made the mistake one time of saying, well, a full paragraph is 5 sentences. And I got a student that posted, the speech was good. I really enjoyed it. I would watch him again. Thanks for assigning this. It was a good speech. And he couldn't understand why I did not give him full credit for that. Okay? It is possible you will also then, for 2 of your other students, write a follow-up responding to their comments and give it a full paragraph. Again, I'm not going to prescribe it, but if you're not writing 5 full sentences, you're not going to get credit for that. Now, if you don't come in with what I consider to be 2 or 3 full paragraphs, then I will be able to document that and give you the exactly reason why you didn't if you want to know. Most times when I say that those weren't 2 or 3 2 full paragraphs, people go, yeah, I know. I was in a hurry. Okay? You can get partial credit for your initial post, but if you don't meet 1 full paragraph for the responses, I give you 0. Okay? Discussion board input will be due by 8 a.m. on Thursday unless otherwise stated. No late postings will be graded. Because like I said, I don't have, I've got 100 of these to look at. I do not have time to go back, 102 of these to look at. I do not have time to go back and examine, if you got yours, ultimately got yours in at 8:46. Last time I gave a student credit because I cut him some slack. And I said, hey, listen, it was in at 8:30. I'll go ahead and grade it. And then their next one was 6 days late. And they sent me a very surly email asking why I wouldn't give them credit for it. So I've just decided if it comes in after 8 a.m. on Thursday, I'm not grading it. You'll get a 0. And you'll be counted absent. Failure to post in 4 discussion boards will result in the student being withdrawn from the class. I say that over and over again because that is the ACONTEC standard that I have to adhere to. Okay, grades. Ceremonial speech will be worth 50 points. Outlines for the informative, problem solution, and persuasive speech have to be turned in. You're going to read in the syllabus, in the syllabus addendum, that if you do not turn in your outline on Thursday at 8 a.m., when you give me the link to your YouTube speech, and I will get you up to speed on that, your outlines are worth 60 points. If you don't turn in an outline, you just send me the link. I will not grade your speech. I have to make sure you're going through all the processes. Okay? The informative speech is 75 points. Problem solution is 100. Persuasive is 125. Your discussion boards, there will be 9 of those. Those will be worth 180 points. Your final exam is worth 150. Okay? Total is 740 points. People will say, well, what do I need to focus on to get a good grade? Well, you need to do all of it to get a good grade. Okay? And all of it is very attainable. All right? My scoring, my grading is, it's a 10% scale. 90 to 100 is an A. 80 to 89 is a B, and so on. Okay, please remember, I will make all reasonable accommodations for persons with documented disabilities. If you have a statement of accommodation from Rich Weldon, our counselor for students with disabilities, I need you to scan a copy and I need you to email it to me, and I will make any and all accommodations that you need. I've gotten really good at that. Rich and I work really well together. Again, students who miss 4 graded events will be withdrawn from the course. That's been changed from 4 discussion board postings to 4 graded events. Students who fail to do 2 of the 4 graded speaking events will be withdrawn from the class. If you're going to have problems in class, let me know as soon as possible. I had a student miss 3 classes, which technically left her subject to being, she was 1 step away from being withdrawn from the class. I sent her an email, said, hey, listen, just to let you know, if you miss another class, you're going to be withdrawn from the class. And she said, can I come in and talk to you? And I said, yeah, sure, come on in. And she walked in and she sat down, and I said, what can I do for you? And she said, you need to know why I've been late. And I'm going like, hey, okay, why I haven't been coming to class? And I'm going like, I understand, but you didn't clear these with me in advance, so I don't really know what to do about it. And she said, well, my children were kidnapped. And I'm like, what the? Okay. That is a great excuse. It was part of a custody dispute. Her husband had come up, grabbed her kids, taken them down to Florida. Ultimately, she did have to withdraw from the class because she was just not in any sort of emotional state to take the class. She came back, she retook it, she did fine. Okay? But if you're going to have problems completing the class, if you're going to have problems getting through something, I need to know about it as early as possible. So, last thing before we go to a couple of other things, public speaking is a skill you can learn. I'm looking under my desk to see if one of my dogs is under there right now. No, he's not. He's out somewhere. I have 2 dogs. I have one dog that is very smart, and I have one dog that is very strong, but not very smart. We board these dogs here over in Evans, and I took the dogs in and went to pick them up, and I was standing there with the lady that I've gotten kind of chatty with. And she looks at me, and the dogs were in the back, and they had to go get them, so it was going to be a few minutes. And she was just, making small talk. She goes, well, Mr. McGinnis, what do you do for a living? And I went, well, I teach at Aiken Technical College. She says, well, what do you teach? And I said, well, I teach public speaking. And she said, well, how do you do that? And I went, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, how do you teach someone public speaking? I mean, that's just something you can or you can't do. And I went, well, let me ask you this. Do you ever know somebody who was kind of a good singer but never really put the effort into it to become a great singer? They just wouldn't get the training. They just wouldn't put the effort in. I mean, they were okay, but they could have been great, but they never really took the lessons to learn the technical aspects of singing. She went, yeah, I know people like that. And I went, public speaking is the exact same way. Exact same way. Okay? So keep that in mind. And she was like, oh, okay, and she hasn't signed up for my class. I don't know how much she believed it. But I will tell you, again, public speaking is a skill you can learn. Everyone can pass this class. I do not have a problem. I have probably in the section, whoever you are looking at this, in your section, there are 24 other students. I do not have a problem submitting 25 of you for A's at the end of the semester if you've done all the work. Okay, I had a class in the summer. 80% of the students got A's. The other ones got B's. I mean, that was just a class that got it. And they all did the work, and they all got the grades. Okay? Everyone can pass this class. Just remember that. The one thing I'm going to say, though, is click. I've already said that. Okay? The one thing I will not tolerate in my class is when you get your rubric back grading your speeches, I will not tolerate this phrase. That's just the way I talk. We do not call this class talking in front of people. We call this class public speaking. You are not talking. You are public speaking. And I will call you out on some of the bad habits you've developed talking to people. Okay? It's not a big deal. You're not going to, it's not going to be horrible, okay? But you will need to learn to formally speak. A good example, I had a student last semester who started every sentence with, hey, for the record. For the record, the important thing you need to know about this is that it's going to wind up it kills people. For the record, and I just was like losing my mind watching this video. And finally I just went in and I sent her an email saying, you've got to stop that. And she came back with, that's just the way I talk. We're not talking in front of people. We're public speaking. Okay? All right. So, 2 assignments this week. We're going to first off start off with why we publicly speak. This is from Gerald Ford. For those of y'all who don't know, Gerald Ford was president of the United States right after Richard Nixon, right before Jimmy Carter. If I went back to college again, I'd concentrate on 2 areas, learning to write and speak before an audience. Nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively. This guy was in the U.S. House of Representatives for decades. He served in World War II. He was the president of the United States. So by any metric, he's a successful guy. And he says he would have studied public speaking more. Okay? So we're going to start off your first assignment. The links to this is not going to be a 1 speech week. This is going to be, you're going to get to watch 3 speeches total. Okay? Or 3 videos total. The guy on the left you will probably recognize as Jon Stewart, former host of The Daily Show. He's now a semi-retired comedian. The guy on the right is Mitch McConnell, Republican senator from West Virginia. He is the Republican leader of the Senate. He is the majority leader of the Senate, one of the most powerful men in our nation, period. No argument about it. Okay? These 2, I mean, they go head to head, at least figuratively. They are on the opposing sides of funding the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. Okay? They are opposed in how that should be done. They verbally go to war with each other. And you're going to find out who wins. Okay? And then you're going to write about that. That's going to be your first discussion board. That assignment will appear in the discussion boards. It's already there before you see this video. So as soon as you finish this, go to the discussion boards. Okay? And you're going to write 2 to 3, and I'm making this one easy. I'm going to give you 3 questions. 1 full paragraph per question, and you were golden. Then you follow up and respond to 2 of your fellow students. Fantastic. Okay? The other thing you're going to do this week is you're going to do your first speech. All right. You will post the speech, and I will put a place, and I'm going to give you a good link to how to post a YouTube video. I'm going to give you a link for that, and you're going to be good to go. It'll be fine. Everybody will be okay. Okay? You're going to post a speech that will be no longer than 1 minute long. You're going to give us your name, where you're from, what you do for an occupation, why you're taking SPC 205, and you're going to tell us one truly unique thing about yourself. Now, if you say, I'm a Clemson fan, that is not unique. There's a lot of people in South Carolina that are Clemson fans. Okay, if you say at the Clemson-South Carolina game last year, I jumped the fence, ran to midfield, and I mooned Will Muschamp, which will get my respect and my admiration. Will Muschamp deserves to be mooned. Okay? That's unique. So think of something really unique. You can use a note card. You can, try to keep it to 1 4x6 note card to make sure. I would advise you to go through this and not just talk. Remember, we're not talking in front of people. We're giving a public speech. Okay? The point of this is for you to get used to, for the first time for some of you in your entire lives, giving a formatted speech that meets certain criteria in a set time limit. Okay? Go to the discussion boards. It's all there. Okay? All right, let's see. I think that's it. That's it. Huzzah! All right, campers, we're done. That's your first lecture. I don't know why I'm pulling this over. I could have just killed it. It would have been just as effective. Okay. Again, let me tell you this. I always used to think before the middle of March that an essential worker was somebody like a policeman or a fireman or a nurse or a doctor that worked in an ER. And those guys definitely are. Our first responders, our frontline medical workers are all clearly very important people. But I also know now that essential workers are grocery store workers, people that work at our restaurants that are in the worst of circumstances, putting their health and their lives on the line for really jobs that don't pay them what they should be earning. Okay? and I said that before, that minimum wage jobs should get paid better. Now our lives have depended on them risking theirs, and they should not be making $7.25 an hour. Okay, I understand that everybody's under a lot of stress right now. It's not going to go away anytime soon. This is the middle of August. We are not going to have a whole lot of resolution to this. I mean, in addition to all the politics and all the protests and everything else going on right now, a lot of people are under a lot of stress. I understand that. Okay, I understand that some of you are going to have events that happen in the next 3 months that are going to be overwhelming. Okay, communicate with me. I cannot help you if you don't tell me what the issues are. Okay. All right, that is it. Stay safe, stay well. I will see you very soon with our first lecture on communication processes, which should post in the next day or two. But right now, focus on watching Jon Stewart and Mitch McConnell. Focus on doing that introductory speech, and I will get the next lecture out to you sometime in the next few days, and it will post here on YouTube, and we'll have fun. All right, everybody, take care.